Today for the Hot Fudge Sunday, we're opening a door to a new day. We're opening a door to a new way. And that new way is how we interact with each other. How we interact with each other as followers of Jesus, how we interact with each other as members of the church, how we interact with each other just as humans. For so long, we have been taught that we are to be understood. We have been taught that we have to have a voice and we have to shout it from the mountaintops, and we have to be heard. And the upside down way of Jesus this week that we've talked about is that our goal is to understand as opposed to be understood. And I think about all of the metaphors for opening up a door, all the metaphors for taking a new step, and how each and every single one of us are on a journey, and we've got to open up new doors and we've got to take new steps. But how do we do that? We do that with confidence that we are loved and we are accepted just as we are, fully knowing that God loves us so much that He's not going to leave us just the way that we are. But none of us can take a new step. None of us can open a new door. None of us can make a new move without that confidence of knowing that we are loved. And the fact of the matter is that there are so many people out there today who don't have that basic belief. Their norm is not that they are loved. Their norm is not that there is grace. Their norm is not that there is redemption. Their norm is that there's judgment and condemnation. Their norm is that you can never be accepted for the way that you are because you're not right. And as followers of Jesus, it is our role to be salt and light in this world. It's our role to bring the good news of Jesus into this world. And the good news of Jesus isn't about rules and regulations. It's about don't drink, don't smoke. It's not about lifestyles like gay or straight. It's not about race. It's not about socioeconomic standings. What it's about is the fact that each and every single one of us are loved. Each and every single one of us has the backing of God, has God with us in our journey, that there is redemption, that there is a new day, there's a new way, and we've got to live into that. And we have to admit that as a church, we haven't been very good at that. And when I say church, I don't just mean Central Christian, but as Christians in general. We haven't been very good at loving people. We've been good at loving people as long as they do what we want them to do. We've been very good at loving people as long as they fit in. We've been very good at loving people as long as they look like us, act like us, talk like us, walk like us, do everything like us. Once there's a little bit of a difference, once there's a difference of opinion, once there's a difference of direction, once there is any kind of difference, then we create separations. We create separations where we build walls instead of bridges. And this week for step number 6, which says, I will strive to understand as opposed to be understood by listening with a servant's heart. We focus on the fact that we got to stop building walls. We got to start building bridges. And it's not about tolerating everybody. It's not about saying live and let live. It's not about saying, okay, well, that's the way that they do it and we're just going to let them be. But it's about loving people enough so that the door can be opened at some time in the future where we can share truth. Because there is truth. The fact of the matter is that there is black and white. There is good and bad. There is right and wrong. And the problem is that we have been so focused for so long on making sure that everyone is right, that the right is heard, that we have lost the proverbial baby in the bathwater. We have jettisoned people because they haven't fit our mold, instead of realizing that they come from different paths and they come from different backgrounds. And we need to understand that. Not to accept it, not to say that I'll just let them be that way, but to say there's no way that anybody's going to care what I know until they know how much I care. And that's the way Jesus lived. You think about it, he had a 3-year ministry. And in that 3 years, Jesus got in the most trouble because of who he hung out with, the people he ate dinner with, the people that he spent his days with. He didn't spend it with the right people, so to speak. He hung out with prostitutes and tax collectors. He hung out with sinners. And we don't have any of the transcripts of any of the dinners that he attended or any of the personal conversations along the side of the road. But I'm pretty sure that when Jesus was in the house of Zacchaeus the tax collector, he wasn't standing on some stool pointing his finger at Zacchaeus and the others and condemning them. I see him more as someone who sat at the table and listened to their stories, listened to their struggles, listened to their background, and then used that connection to open the door for a deeper conversation, open the door for a deeper relationship. And I think the problem is that we live in a microwave society. We want everything done just like that. And the fact of the matter is that living into a relationship with Jesus Christ, living into being a disciple, a follower of Jesus, it's not a microwave ministry. It's a crock pot ministry. It's a stick the roast in at 7 o'clock in the morning and cover it with spices and turn it on low and let it simmer and cook for the next 8 hours. That's the kind of relationship, and that's the kind of life that being a follower of Jesus is all about. But we struggle with that because we want things quick. So we're so quick at making rules and regulations and saying, just follow the rules. And we have gotten very good at creating rule followers. But rule followers is not what Jesus came to die on the cross for. He came to die on the cross for followers, for people who are willing to admit that they're fractured, faulty, sin-stained, and imperfect. But yet they're going to follow, and they're going to take a new step every single day. They're going to strive to do the next right thing, regardless of what the past has brought them. And so as followers of Jesus, it's important for us to take that same step. It's important for us to not quickly judge and condemn those around us, but to come alongside them, to walk with them for a while, to understand their experience, to understand their perspective. And once we understand that, we will do two things. Number one, we'll build a relationship with them so that they will feel comfortable and confident that we care for them first and foremost. And that will open the door for questions to be asked and for truth to be sought. But also, too, it helps us to demonstrate that love, to live that love. And for us personally and in our relationship with Jesus Christ, it's important for us to get good at living the love of Christ. It's important for us to get good at living the grace and the peace and the redemption. And just to be honest, we haven't been good at it in the past. And Jesus is calling us to get better at it. And we talked about this today in worship because not only personally do we need to do this, but also corporately as a church. Central Christian Church has made the decision to leave 15th Street West, to sell the building, to relocate. And we do this understanding that there are two realities. The first reality is that the congregation has decided that they don't want to minister to the community in which the church is located right now. Somewhere down the road, somewhere in the past, I don't know when it happened, the church lost connection with the community. And it's been a steady decline ever since that. When a church loses connection with the people who are right around it, then there's trouble. And that's exactly what happened to Central Christian years ago. And we're just experiencing the results now. And so the decision has been made to sell the building, to leave that community because there's not a calling, a longing, a desire to minister to that community and move to a new community. Well, that reality is joined together with the reality of whatever community we end up going to, we've got to connect with it. We have got to connect with the people that call it home. We've got to walk alongside them and experience their lives through their perspective and their point of view so that we can tailor the message, we can build relationships, and we can make connections with people. Again, they're not going to care how much we know until they know how much we care. And that's going to be a huge step in our reimagining and redeveloping and revisioning what this ministry is going to be like. And it's not going to be easy because we've got to figure out who we are. We're going to figure out who do we want to minister to? What's the community that we're interested in? And then go find that community and build a home there. And that's going to be a very important part of this process. And so that's what we were talking about today. talking about that concept of the fact that we have got to listen twice as much as we speak. We have got to seek to understand as opposed to be understood. And the passage that we use to talk about this is one of my favorite passages is 1 Corinthians 9, verses 19 through 23, especially the Message translation of it, where the Apostle Paul talks about how he becomes all things to all people, so that he may reach some and help them to have a God-saved life. And at the end of the passage, he says that he doesn't want to just talk about it. He wants to be in on it. And I think that's the essential basis of our ministry, wherever we end up, is that we just don't want to talk about it. We want to be in on it. And for a very long time, the church has gotten very good at talking about it. We talk about love, we talk about grace, we talk about forgiveness, we talk about redemption, but then we don't live it. We're not in on it. We condemn, we judge, we make quick judgments upon people based on how they look or how they talk or how much money they have or how much money they don't have or where they live. And we've got to do a better job at that. So as we take a look at the future, we take a look as a church and as individuals on how we can better understand the people in our lives, how we can better understand the people around us, as opposed to constantly raging against the machine and saying, hear our voice, follow our way, be like us. We have to become more like them. And just to wrap it up, I shared the story about the fact that, I'm only 40, going to be 49 next week. And I remember blue laws. I remember when everybody went to church. And all a church really had to do was build a building, open up its doors, and put a sign out saying welcome, and people would come. And that day's done. That day's gone. And we can bemoan that fact. We can wish it would come back to that. We would long for bygone days. But the fact of the matter is that day's gone. And so in order for us to have a successful ministry, we have got to plant in a community. And then we've got to start meeting people and finding out what their needs are, finding out about their experience and their journey so that we can meet them where they are with the good news of Jesus. And that's going to be very important wherever we end up. For whatever reason, we don't feel that we're led to do that on 15th Street in Bradenton. We're going to do it somewhere else in Bradenton. Where that's going to be, I don't know. But we do know one thing right now. Wherever it is, we've got to seek to understand as opposed to be understood. Well, as I say every week, I hope that this week has a great you, and you'll join us next week for another episode of Hot Fudge Sunday. Talk to you soon.